Welcome back, guys. Today's episode, I'm gonna be running you through a little bit of like bodybuilding lessons and also some things that I want to debunk in regards to just bodybuilding myths in general. And I worked it out earlier, right? Over the course of 7 to 8 years, I reckon I put on around 50 pounds of genuine muscle. So today's video is going to be a little bit of a personal insight on things I've learned along the way, mistakes, things that you can potentially apply to help you along the way on your bodybuilding journey. So session-wise today, literally just got arms and accessories. So it's arms, delts and abs. So a quick, easy 30 to 40 minute session. And usually I don't use pre for this one, but today's obviously we're filming, so pre's going in. First and most important lesson, time. In bodybuilding, you cannot put a set time on anything. How long it's going to take you to progress is down to so many different factors. And if you come into bodybuilding with a restraint on time or saying, I'm only going to bodybuild for 2-3 years, you're going to limit yourself to progress. The best thing you can do is accept that from where you are now to where you want to be is going to take a significant period of time. So lock in for the process, find areas of the process that you enjoy the most, whether that's training, putting time into your meal prep, and revel in that full process. The more you can enjoy what makes up bodybuilding, the longer you're going to be in the game for. I don't think bodybuilding is something you can force. I think we all have different reasons that we start, whether that's for confidence, whether that's to build our physiques, build discipline. And if you lean into the reason that you started it, that's only going to ignite the fire more. So one piece of advice that I always give clients, or that I even follow myself from time to time when I feel I'm swaying from that path, is remembering why you started. For me, it was all about the training. I loved getting strong. I enjoyed pushing myself in the gym. Remembering to go back to your roots whenever it comes to reminding yourself of why you started is going to keep that fire lit the whole way through. So remember why you started and really play into that. This book is slowly giving way. Look, I think we've lost these pages, book's in half, but we've got good use out of it. We've got good use out of it. Something that's just come to mind as well, guys, is here's an honest truth that I don't think a lot of people talk about with bodybuilding, is you will spend probably 90% of the time being unsatisfied with either the way you look, the progress you're making, or about a certain element of the bodybuilding process. And this is completely normal. A lot of people will say that you should be proud, you should accept what you've achieved. But if you've got genuine standards and you've got a physique that you aspire to have or to look like, you're always gonna feel like that. And let it drive you. People will say you need to be more proud, you need to be satisfied with what you've achieved. No. If you've got standards, if you've got somewhere you want to take your bodybuilding journey, never settle. Use the fact that you don't feel satisfied to push you even harder every session. It's an underrated tool to be able to make extreme progress in this game. So I always typically tend to do my lighter set of biceps first, then go into the heavier set. I feel if I start with the heavier set, I cheat a little bit to get the rep all the whole way. Whereas if I do the lighter set first, my forearms engaged, it's then really hard to cheat as I know where I want to keep the tension. And I guess that's the point in itself, guys, is that there's no set rules that you have to work with for bodybuilding. Find what works for you, Have people guide you and make sure you're not making wrong mistakes or spending time doing something which isn't progressing you. But if you find a certain way of training or a certain way of doing the process, which you see tangible results from, stick to that and run it the whole way. Just thinking of something there that I covered a second ago about being satisfied, guys. You can not be satisfied with certain areas of your physique or the progress you're making, but still enjoy what you're doing. And that's a crucial element. It's like, another simple analogy. Let's say, for instance, you want to earn a certain amount of money. Let's say you're earning close to that. You can still be happy with the money you're earning and then want to strive to work for more. It's very similar. And I think a lot of the times in bodybuilding, you're going to have that feeling of, I need to be doing more, or I want to be bigger, or I want to be leaner. And as I say, that is your fuel. That's going to keep you going on the days where you don't feel like showing up to the gym, or the days you don't feel like sticking on plan. Use that as fuel to drive you towards that goal. Again, it's something that's so underrated, is playing into how you feel and using that as an internal driver to push even harder towards that goal. Another lesson that I had to experience the hard way when starting my bodybuilding journey was, it's going to be very different now, as bodybuilding is huge online. Like, you can learn from so many different people and be inspired in many different ways nowadays. But when I first started, there was many times that you may feel alone in bodybuilding. You may feel like you're strange for being the one that wants to continuously go to the gym all the time, or doesn't want to come off plan, eat out of Tupperware 24/7. Like, there's going to be moments across that journey where you do feel like the odd one out. And again, flipping the framing on that and just realizing that, okay, if I'm doing something completely different to everyone else, that means one, I'm going to get a different result to everyone else. And second, that's actually something to be proud of, because if you can put yourself in a position where you're doing what 99% of people aren't doing, that's usually going to equal a good outcome. Because there's a reason that it's hard, and there's a reason that you will feel like that from time to time, because it's not something everybody can do. And again, when you realize that's actually a gift, it will push you even harder to stick to it. So realize that there may be some days across that journey you feel like the odd one out, but being the odd one out is going to be what makes you stand out long term. So a lesson I learned the hard way in bodybuilding, guys, and I feel like I've got a really good perspective on this because I've lived both sides of the coin, is what you make of your bodybuilding experience is purely down to you. Meaning you can be in your own little bubble, not speak to anyone, do your own thing, just bodybuild solely for you. Or you can do the same thing, but allow yourself to be immersed in that bodybuilding environment. Go to expos, go to shows, speak to people that you see online. Like, what your experience is purely down to the way that you make it. Like, I remember 5-6 years when I wouldn't ever speak to anybody in the gym or anybody when I went outside of like home bodybuilding environment. I'd always come back being like, why didn't I speak to that person? Or I followed this person for 4 or 5 years. Why don't I just initiate a conversation? And again, that was a really lonely way to live bodybuilding because I was in my own bubble. Whereas now, I'll speak to people that I've followed, I'll engage in conversations, and how that makes the whole experience. And also puts fuel in the fire towards your own one is massive. So what you make of your bodybuilding experience is purely down to you. So make sure you have an idea of how you want to live it and how you want that environment to be, and then put it into action. So at the start, guys, you heard me mention about how in bodybuilding you can't give it time. It just takes as long as it takes to get towards where you want to go. And I think one of the most powerful things that bodybuilding teaches you as a sport is that patience is everything. And you learn that when you do your cardio sessions, you may not see the fat loss the following day. When you do your training sessions, you're not going to see the muscle growth that next day. It teaches you to be patient in pursuit of a goal, and then that mindset applies to everything that you do, knowing that if you decide to start a business, that business may take years to grow. What bodybuilding teaches you as a ethos and as a mental framework is that patience is the baseline for everything that you want, given you're willing to do the work. So put the work in, be patient, and you'll get whatever you put your mind to. It's not easy to come in every day and train hard. It's not easy to come in every day and want to stick to your food. But again, that patience element, it brings you back to learning the ways of life, and that not everything comes at a click of a button. Not everything is as instant as you may have access to. It teaches you a real good raw mentality towards life, in that patience is literally everything. So bodybuilding will teach you that, given you stick with it and give it time. So across your bodybuilding journey, you're going to notice that your phases differ massively the more mature you get as an athlete. And what I mean by this, I'll give you an example. When I first ever started and I was trying to go through the majority of my building, off seasons, whatever you want to call it, the jump in body weight was always huge. So I'd go from, like, let's say 210 to 250 and then pull that back down. Whereas now I probably only gain 15 to 20 pounds in a push-up phase. So knowing that across your whole bodybuilding journey, every phase is going to look different, albeit some principles are going to stay the same, but your phases are going to differ massively based on maturity, not just physically, but also mentally with the process, and realizing that across the course of the bodybuilding, all phases are going to be slightly different. So it's not a case that you just off-season prep or off-season diet. Every phase you do is going to be slightly different, depending on the progress that you've made in that phase or the adjustments that you need to make to improve. So another thing to note, guys, is there's going to be times across whatever phase you do that you're going to be extremely uncomfortable. Whether that's you're the far end of off season, struggling to eat every single meal, you feel uncomfortable in everything you wear, that's going to be an extremity of that phase. And very similar on the other side round. There's days you're going to be hungry, there's days you're going to feel smaller, you're going to feel weaker. So at both extremities of the process, you're gonna feel extremely uncomfortable. So preparing for that and also making sure you're aware of what's to come, you can just prepare yourself for that. So look forward to those phases as realizing that the more uncomfortable you get either end, that's always where you see the most progress. So again, linking that uncomfortable feeling to the biggest leaps forward in progress or the biggest revealing moments in your bodybuilding career is something to remember, because typically the harder something gets or the more uncomfortable you feel, the better it is on the other side. So just remembering that correlation. So something that I wish I did sooner when I first started, guys, was reach out for help or fill gaps in certain areas that I wanted to know more about. But again, I think there's two sides to this one, because when I first reached out to a coach, I'd experimented and tried things for so many years, and I also knew by the time it come that I wanted a coach, I was so bought into that coaching process that I was with my first coach for 1.5 years. I think it's easy to sometimes straight away jump to a coach without having fully found your feet in the process first, that you sometimes don't know what you're getting yourself into. So there's a balance between the two. You want to know, have I tried enough to warrant needing help yet, or do I just need to run the process a little bit longer? Or am I at that point now where I'm like, okay, I've exhausted everything I can on my own via learning, going through the process and time in general, to then reaching out and needing help. So find where you sit on that spectrum and then wait for the right time for that to apply to you. So with how monotonous bodybuilding can be as a process in general, one thing I would have done, not necessarily done different, but more so done with clearer intention, is set more specific goals. So instead of saying, I want to compete, when do you want to compete? What category do you want to compete in? Elaborate on the goals that you've got for yourself and really set that crystal clear in your mind, because you'll find the clearer the goal and the clearer the timeline, the harder and more precise your efforts are to meet that goalpost. So instead of mindlessly throwing out goals, I want to get bigger or I want to get leaner, be so specific. Set timelines, set visions, and set multiple things that you want to achieve along the way towards that goal, because it's going to make your focus more intense, your effort harder, and ultimately that goal come into fruition a lot more higher on that probability scale. That's a wrap, guys. Like, comment, and subscribe. I'd also be interested to hear anybody else's thoughts on what they've learned along their bodybuilding journey and anything that they would give in terms of advice to other people. That is my full insight on gaining 50 pounds of lean tissue in around 5-6 years. We're gonna catch up when it's 100 pounds. Thanks for watching, guys.